Are we on air?
Yes,
Okay.
and I'm recording.
Go. Is the sound present or not?
No,
No
not right
background
now.
sound.
Not right now.
Testing 1, 2, right now. Just making sure we get testing all audio and video at this time. Woosah.
It is a little weird. It's showing every single one of my things is live.
Yeah, because you sent everything at once. It's going to all of them at once.
I did what? What do you mean I did all of them?
Huh?
Say that again?
It's going to all of the places you set up at the same
No,
time.
I mean
What do you
all
mean?
of my old YouTube events. Let me go to my site.
Okay. Thank you for doing all that. That was brilliant.
Okay. So that looks like it's still showing up.
Yep. All good.
No, you see what I mean is because our header is the same as this image, I don't know if it's truly live. It's counting down to the time. So even though you're on air, I don't know that we're really live.
It's one person watching. That means you're live. Great. I think it should be better there because people are going to creep over here to get to you. Someone will creep. No creeping. Drew, where do you want to be during the event? Do you want to be here with us? Or?
I'm not sure yet. I'm still
Okay.
trying to make sure that this is
Okay.
truly working.
I was trying to think when I first heard of public knowledge, and it kind of seems like they've always been there, like, as if they predated the universe or something. We all came to the joint realization that there was a void in Washington.
I'm going to try my computer back there.
Right. Well, that's what the lady.
I'm getting background sound.
Okay, he's got it up. That's what it is. That's just so that we know that it's working. We can turn it down.
Let's turn it off. Sound off.
That's just so that we know. That's a lag.
I recognize it.
Okay.
Just the sound.
Yeah, all the mics are muted. I don't know, unless the laptop is
I think it's the lag. It's hard to say.
all the mics are muted.
This is a real thing.
I think it's the laptop.
It's hard to say.
I think your laptop has your mic on.
You want to?
Everything's down. I think it's the
Okay.
laptop.
also want to thank our media partners who are streaming this for us live. We couldn't have done it without them. The Broadband breakfast team over there on the side of the room. If you guys don't know them, sign up for their emails and their programming. We are also joined by people that we work with all the time. We're one part of this coalition here in DC, as well as folks that sometimes we don't agree with, but that's okay. That's how good policy gets made. So I industry here, U.S. Telecom in the room. Good to have you guys here representing the telco companies. Total industry is behind this. Left and right civil society, it doesn't matter if it's conservative or liberal. Folks want this program to be renewed. And so we thank you all for being a part of this and engaging all of your allies and all of your stakeholders in this fight. We're going to have some important folks come up here and talk about why this rally is important, why we need to renew the program, including Senator Welch. We expect to be here later on in the program. We also have ACP commissioners here as well, and a representative from the White House should be joining us. So we have folks from all over official Washington here because they know this is important. And sometimes Congress and Washington are slow to act, but we have faith in them and they have faith in them. And that's why we're here, even on this last day of the program, because it's never too late for them to do the right thing and to fund the Affordable Connectivity Program. The Affordable Connectivity Program has been incredibly successful in getting individuals and families connected to the internet. It eased the emotional burden and the time tax associated with making sacrifices in one's life and in their budget to get access to this essential 21st century network. It's also been a major part of the equation in closing the digital divide in other ways. Those of you policy nerds in the room know that there's multiple reasons why people don't have broadband. Affordability is one of the most important ones, but it also contributes to helping the broadband providers build out areas where people don't have broadband because it increases the number of people in those remote rural areas that can afford to sign up for broadband. So it's all a part of closing the digital divide. Public knowledge, we know, like many of you know in the room, that the ACP has been a short-term fix and for a long-term fix to have sustainable long-term subsidies for broadband. But while we work together, we need this program, the ACP, refunded right now. There is a bill out there, the bipartisan ACP Extension Act, led by Congresswoman Clark, by Senator Welch on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, Senator Vance, Congressman Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, and many other folks from both parties who are supporting this bill to restore the Affordable Connectivity Program. And we've even hear talk of discussion this week that maybe Congress will look to extend the program by attaching an extension to a spectrum bill. The spectrum policy bill is moving through the Senate right now, and we would welcome that. Anything to restore this program so we can get on with the task of figuring out what the long-term solution for connectivity and affordable subsidies are. Let's see here. Oh, one more important thing before I bring up our guest speakers is where we are. We are in Washington, D.C. Some of you are watching online and you share on social media that this is happening right now. We want as many people as possible to know about the urgency of restoring the ACP. But while we're in Washington, D.C., we are not up on Capitol Hill, where my team of lobbyists who work on behalf of the public interest, some of the industry lobbyists in the House, spend a lot of time on Capitol Hill. No, we're here at a library. We're here in the community where official Washington may live, but also unofficial Washington, folks who aren't fancy, live and work and come to learn and to read. We are at a place called the Shaw Watha T. Daniel Public Library. Now, Shaw is the name of the neighborhood that we're in. Watha T. Daniel is a very special person. See, back in the 1900s. In the early 1900s, Shaw was a home to banks and department stores, markets. It was a living, working community, and then was upended by the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King in 1968. There's turmoil in this neighborhood. And some merchants moved away to other areas and never came back, or didn't reopen. And a few stayed behind to revitalize this neighborhood and this community. Two of them, one of them, if you're a DC local, you may have heard of, Welch important civic leader here in Washington, DC. But the other was a man named Watha T. Daniel, who this library is named after. And those two leaders, Mr. Daniel and Mr. Fauntleroy, founded the Model Inner City Community Organization, a group of Shaw-based professionals who work for a neighborhood resurgence. They used federal grants. Fancy that. They used federal grants and other funding sources to build public housing and provide services to residents. And according to the historians working to preserve DC history, this community organization also gave voice to the community and how this money would be spent. It was a ground-up effort using federal dollars. That's exactly what we have going on here to renew the ACP. And so we think that it is apropos that we are here in the spirit of Watha T. Daniel, asking all of you online to let your voice be heard from the ground up, from the community, to use these federal funds to make people's lives better, to build community online and connect more people to the essential network of the 21st century, and that's broadband internet. So we're going to get this done with your help. We're going to get this done with your energy, and we're going to get this done with the support of some tremendous policymakers. And I want to bring a couple up here right now. The first is Commissioner Ana Gomez. Commissioner Ana Gomez is the newest member of the Federal Communications Commission, the agency that they just confirmed again has authority over broadband in this country and oversight over that service. Thank you. And for a long time, we were without a fifth commissioner and couldn't move forward with important things. So I never get tired of saying how excited I am that you are here, Commissioner Gomez, and at the FCC. We want to welcome her up. Please welcome FCC Commissioner Ana Gomez.
There you go. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So good morning, and thank you to Public Knowledge and partners for holding this rally today. And thank you to Chris for that kind introduction. So we know that broadband internet access is essential to participating in modern life. It touches every aspect of our work, our education, our healthcare, and so much more. It can create unbounded opportunity for those that have access to it, while at the same time be a locked door to the futures of those who do not. And like never before, closing America's digital divide is within our reach. This is because the bipartisan infrastructure law created the Affordable Connectivity Program, the largest broadband affordability effort in our nation's history. This critical program has helped over 23 million households get and stay connected to high-speed internet. That means 1 in 6 households benefit from the ACP. Over half of subscribers are Americans over the age of 50. 4 million of that number are seniors living on a fixed income. 1 in 4 households is Latino, 1 in 4 households is African American. As we've heard, the ACP is the most successful tool ever had to closing the digital divide because it finally addresses the long overlooked yet critical affordability piece of the puzzle. And our data shows that households in both urban areas and rural areas have benefited from the program. This is not a state or a red issue. The ACP is a bipartisan issue. So today, I join you to raise the alarm about why failing to refund the ACP is really a bad idea. It's bad for our economy and bad for families across this country. First, disastrous for families who are already struggling to pay the bills. That is certain. Families will be faced with a tough decision on whether to pay for their broadband or pay bills or put food on the table, pay for childcare, or pay their electric bill. Next, ACP ending will have an economic and competitive consequence. We know that access to connectivity is a game changer for economic opportunity that can open the playing field for education, job opportunity, work, and business. Not only that, but it will put at risk our nation's historic investment to deploy broadband to everyone, everywhere, especially rural areas. For low-income rural Americans, the ACP is a lifeline to ensuring they have access to connectivity. We allow ACP to end, fewer households will be able to afford service, and this will impact the economics of deploying broadband in rural areas. Without it, some providers may hesitate to deploy in rural areas, fear that the investment will not be sustainable. Put simply, without ACP, the billions of dollars that Congress has to deploy broadband will not go as far and will fail to maximize the benefits of this investment. This will be felt particularly in rural communities who have been waiting for connectivity to finally come to them. It is, as they say, be wise and pound foolish. Finally, we jeopardize trust. Building trust between government and low-income consumers is challenging. If Congress fails to refund the ACP, we jeopardize the trust that we've built with these vulnerable consumers. This is a critical moment. Connectivity has never been more important, and we now know what it takes to close the digital divide. There is so much promise and opportunity if we're just willing to get up and take it. I am fight to see this program refunded, and despite the effort, I am also hopeful that Congress will act. There are a number of proposals that have been introduced in Congress that have bipartisan, bicameral support, including the ACP, which Congressman Clark and Senator Welch proposed earlier this year. I urge Congress to act to extend the ACP so that millions of families will not lose this critical support for high-speed internet, and so that we can continue to maintain U.S. economic leadership in an increasingly digital world. We've made too much progress and come too far to turn back. So let's save the Affordable Connectivity Program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez. Next, I want to bring up a young man who I've known for a couple decades now, and he is a longtime champion at the FCC for affordability issues, whether it's the Lifeline program, whether it's the emergency broadband. Do you remember that one? Now the affordability program, and he's traveled the country advocating and meeting with communities just like this one about the importance of these issues. So I'll bring up Geoffrey Starks.
I too am going to have, yes, no. Well, thank you for that warm introduction. First, let me say, so looking around here today, of course, gives me great hope that we can save the Affordable Connectivity Program. I see folks in the room who, like me, are fired up and feel a fierce urgency of now. I know I do. And so I'm honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with you all here today, like we have been for quite some time, ringing that alarm bell to raise awareness about the importance, the critical importance of ACP, and help to make that final push so that we can get this program refunded. So before Congress is the ACP Extension Act, that bipartisan, bicameral bill to provide additional funding to keep the program from lapsing. And so I'm hopeful that she'll make it here today, but Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, And we know we'll see Senator Peter Welch, but thank them truly for their leadership introducing this legislation and really doing the hard work that they're doing on their end, making that push so that we can get this funding for ACP. But you and I, we're here today for a unified purpose. What is that? It's to fight for ACP. I've said it before and I'll say it again. ACP is simply the most effective program that we've ever had in getting low-income Americans connected and keeping them connected. In fact, it's been the most successful program ever in our decades-long bipartisan push to crack the digital divide. But you don't have to just take my word for it. I have traveled across this great country, met with folks enrolled in ACP, and I want to take a minute to share just a few of their stories. We can talk about policy all day here, but I want to talk about people for a minute. I've met a senior who told me that after moving, it was the Affordable Connectivity Program that enabled her to get and stay connected with her home community and her family through those precious video Zoom calls. And she attended Zoom church, she called, for how she was able to continue her worship. A veteran in Illinois who contacts his VA online to check the status of his medications, set up his chronic healthcare appointments that he needs. A father in Akron, Ohio, who told me that he was able to update his resume, apply for jobs that he and his family needed online. A mother of 4 in Chicago who told me that ACP kept her children from falling behind on their coursework. And then, of course, I'll never, ever forget Deborah. It's almost like I could see her here. And she's the one who told me, asked me, you could see the concern, you could see the worry. She said, am I going to have to eat less food in order for me to be able to continue my internet connection? It doesn't have to be this way. These are just a few of the people who I've heard from who rely on ACP each and every day. And while everyone, of course, has their own unique individual story that makes them themselves, all these stories shared a common thread, a common message. And it was that ACP was essential to me and to my household. And so from my point of view, ACP is the program that has helped transform the digital landscape, making internet access more equitable and empowering everyday Americans to get more and more connected. And so as we've heard, but I want to hear from me, today marks a critical point in our efforts to refund ACP, as it is that final day that enrolled households will receive their full program benefit. And that's because we are officially now in the wind down phase of the ACP program. The money has run out. At the FCC, we're doing everything that we can to stretch the very, very last little amount of funding that we have to keep households connected. But beginning tomorrow, enrolled households will only receive a partial credit towards their monthly internet bill. Many households will have to face a tough choice. Confront that rising internet bill or disconnect them and their household from the internet. We've made real progress, y'all, in closing the digital divide through ACP, and we cannot afford to slide backwards. So as I said at the start, I do believe in that fierce urgency of now. On behalf of the 23 million households nationwide and the 63,806 households here in DC that rely on this program, I'm here to fight for you today. We've got to continue and rally hard to keep the pressure and momentum going until we see this through to save ACP. And I got to tell you, this is not my first rally for ACP. In fact, I did one with Chris and with Yvette Clark not a month ago on the footsteps of New York's City Hall. But what I want to tell you is that there were probably 5 or 6 senior African-American women that were in Yvette Clarke's district who were ACP enrollees. And so each of us came up and gave our little speech, did our little thing. But these ladies were listening closely to everybody's speech. And let me tell you, if you said something that they heard, they'd say, and that ain't right. Tell me. Can y'all say that with me here? 1, 2, 3. It's a rally, y'all. 1, 2, 3. That ain't right. Here we go. So we're going to do a little bit of this call. We'll see how we do here, everybody. Here's why I'm fired up. We've got 23 million households enrolled in ACP that are going to get cut off. We've got veterans and their military families who rely on this program, people who have served America. They're going to be on the wrong side of the digital divide. We've got young learners who are going to have to go back to those McDonald's parking lots in order to finish their homework. We've got job seekers who are looking in this economy right now, who want to work, who are looking for the skills that they need, and instead we're going to pull the plug on them. And we've got people who rely on telehealth, rely on their visits with their teleprovider, and they also are going to get cut off. I got to tell you, y'all, that ain't right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Starks. That is right, yeah. And we're so glad that both of you are here and speaking up and continue to speak up. I know we've got representatives from the chairwoman's office here as well. She's passionate about this issue. The FCC knows what time it is. It's time to restore the Affordable Connectivity Program, and we appreciate all of you. The commissioner mentioned it's a bipartisan bill, and just last week we saw a letter from 20 some House Republicans urging the Speaker of the House to do something and to make this happen. We thank them, and there's been letter after letter from bipartisan governors, members in both chambers. Everyone says they support this. It's time for action. We also have the White House in support of this program, and that's critically important. And we're very grateful that here, following working this issue, is a whole team at the White House, but representing them, the National Economic Council Deputy Director, John Donnenberg, is here. We want to invite him up to give a few remarks. So, John, thank you for being here. Come on up.
Thank you for that.
Got a couple inches. Thank you for that. And thank you, Commissioner Starks and Commissioner Gomez, for your remarks today and for really fighting to extend the Affordable Connectivity Program. As you noted, my name is John Donnenberg. I'm the Deputy Director of President Biden's National Economic Council. Like many of the advocates here today know, when President Biden thinks about the economy, he really thinks about it from the perspective of a family sitting around the kitchen table, trying to pay the bill, balancing groceries, rent, utilities, healthcare, childcare, and all of the other essentials. And let's not kid ourselves. Affordable, reliable, high-speed internet is essential in modern America. This is not a luxury. It is a requirement for Americans to be able to effectively participate in school, to do their jobs, to access modern healthcare, to stay connected to their loved ones. And Commissioner Starks spoke so movingly about some of those stories. We know that they are true. And that is why the president is committed to making sure that every household in America has access to reliable, high-speed internet by 2030. We're not there yet. And we know from the data that disparities in internet access continue to disproportionately impact communities of color, veterans, our military families, rural communities, and older Americans. We also know that these disparities cause real harm to far too many people. And it is really for those reasons that the president is such a strong advocate for the Affordable connectivity program. As we have heard, and as you all know, ACP is the largest and most successful internet affordability program in the history of this country. There are 23 million households enrolled. That is an extraordinary number. It is 1 in every 6 households in the country. Nearly half of these are military families. A quarter of them are seniors. This program is having an enormous effect. And unfortunately, if it disappears, that will have an enormous effect too. You know, in a recent FCC survey, more than 3/4 of ACP households said that losing the ACP would disrupt their internet service. And with program funding fully running out next month, we're talking about over 15 million families that could be at risk of losing their internet connections. That is not acceptable. And it shouldn't be acceptable to any of us. And that is why, starting in last October, President Biden began calling on Congress to extend this benefit at least through 2024. Democratic members and senators have joined him in this effort. As we have heard, there has been bipartisan support for this program. There are Republican members who have supported this program. But we should speak plainly. So far, Republican leaders in Congress have failed to act. So once again, before it is too late, the president is calling on Republican leaders to step up and join their rank and file and join Democrats to fund the ACP. There are a lot of ways to do it. We have heard about some of those ways today. Congresswoman Clark has a wonderful proposal in the House. There are proposals in the Senate that could save ACP by authorizing new spectrum auctions. There are a lot of different approaches, but the truth is any real solution will require bipartisan agreement. That is the nature of where we are in our government. Now, it shouldn't be hard to get bipartisan agreement. It's not a partisan issue. Access to the internet is essential no matter who you voted for or where you live. And in fact, there are millions of ACP recipients in every state and every congressional district in America, no matter what color that district is. So the question in front of us today is plain. And that question is whether Republican leaders in Congress will act to protect millions of their own constituents through 2024, or whether they will simply shut off this essential program. The president does not want that to happen. The FCC does not want that to happen. I do not want that to happen. And that is why the president is urging congressional Republicans to get their leaders to come to the table and lower internet costs for American families. Now, even as we fight to extend ACP, the president is not slowing down on his Internet for All agenda. We are taking a number of actions that are designed to lower internet costs and improve access for American families. Many of you have been involved in these efforts or tracking these efforts. This includes a historic expansion of broadband infrastructure to every single corner of this country. That expansion, by the way, includes a legal requirement for states and territories to make sure there's a low-cost option for families, and that will still be here. We are also working with providers who currently have millions of ACP customers so that they will act to keep those customers connected by offering low-cost plans or no-cost plans. And several of those providers have already answered the administration's call, and we hope that that will continue and that those systems will continue to expand. So we will continue this fight to lower costs for internet access for all families. But that starts with extending the ACP, and I am hopeful that we'll be able to get there. Thank you.
John, thank you for being here. Thank you for representing the president today. We appreciate it. All right, I'm going to ask our lightning round panel to come on and make your way up here so that we can get rolling. As they make their way, Elisa and her wonderful panel are going to make their way up here. I'll just remind folks that, yes, you can take action. We're talking about how do we get action now in Congress. There's so many, you go to our partners' websites, I named some of them earlier, many of them have actions, we have actions. There's a great coalition website called don'tdisconnectus.org. You can go to that right now and learn how to contact your member of Congress so that we get every member telling leadership, we're ready to move this bill right now. All right, so I got our panel up here. And I'm going to turn things over to Elisa Valentin. Elisa Valentin is Broadband Policy Director of Public Knowledge and is doing a great job of leading our work on this fight. Elisa, take it away. Okay, we can do that. All right. I did mention earlier we were expecting one of our meeting sponsors to be here, and he is here, along with Congresswoman Clark, who wanted to be here, but had a vote she had to take care of. Congressman Fitzpatrick on the Republican side, Senator Vance on the Republican side. Again, a bipartisan effort. We had one of the other of the four original co-sponsors of the ACP restoration bill, and that is Senator Peter Welch, who has been a longtime champion of rural communities, of communities disconnected to have access to broadband. Senator Welch, thank you so much for coming to the rally today. Everyone, let's welcome you.
Hey, sorry to interrupt your presentation. All right, I apologize. All right, well, but it's so good to be here with you, Chris, Commissioner, Yvette, my friend from the days that we worked together in the House. We were classmates in the House, and I ditched her, and she's holding the fort over there with Marjorie Taylor Greene and a lot of her new friends. It's amazing. So I, number one, want to thank you for your continued advocacy. And it's not just because you're staying the course on this, but at the core of why you're advocating is an appreciation for how important it is for lower income folks, for seniors, for 4 million veterans to have that just little bit of help that allows them to stay connected. And we in this country can obscure the reality of how hard it is to be poor and the extraordinary difficult choices that folks who can't pay their bills at the end of the month have to make. The anxiety of juggling bills, the shame in some cases of not being able to get your son or daughter a new pair of shoes for school, the trauma really of wondering whether you're going to be able to put that meal on the table. And that's the reality of life for a lot of Americans. The stock market figures, the unemployment rate, the GDP, those are abstractions that have no meaning in the life of a person who's making $15,000 a year and has 2 kids. And we have a lot of Vermonters who are very much in that situation. And it's painful for me at times, as it is for you, when you're around folks who don't understand that. It's not that they're not necessarily mean, although some are. Let's give them credit. But you have it in your bone marrow that there's a lot of people that just are having that struggle day in and day out. And for those people, they need access to high-speed internet, just like they need access to electricity. This is what is required in a modern economy. And, you know, for them to do the things that are so essential, the doctor's appointment, right? They don't have a car maybe, or it's broken down, and the internet means they can have that appointment. They want to apply for a job. You can't show up in a lot of places now. You've got to go online in order to be able to apply for your job. And then, of course, you have kids and they've got to do their homework and stay connected. But, you know, the other thing, the letters that we get from Vermonters, a lot of them are from older people in their mid-80s. And what they fix the income. It's the only way they stay connected to their loved ones. And how much does that mean emotionally to those folks, right? So how is it that $30 means so much to these families, to these individuals, to these veterans, and Congress can't get its act together to keep that up? And then some of the opponents say it's really not a big deal. It's only $30, right? So the moral imagination is stunted when you can't understand only $30 to you, but not to that veteran, not to that mom on $15,000 and 2 kids. And some of my colleagues are saying they have some study that says it won't make a difference. You know what makes a difference? Everything makes a difference when you're on the margin like that. And the profoundest decision we made, and this was a victory for a lot of us advocates, you very much, was it before going into COVID, when a lot of us were advocating for broadband build out to rural America. A lot of my urban colleagues didn't think it was a big deal. COVID came and we saw it was a game changer. If you didn't have access to the internet, you just couldn't do all the things we just discussed. And that changed. So we're getting it built out. But just think, if you're on that dirt road in Vermont and the cable's are right out in front of your house or mobile home, and you can't connect because you don't have the $100 or $30 or whatever it is, and it's getting more expensive. But then you have this lifeline where you have figured out how with this $30 you are going to be connected. And you now have come to rely on that. And it's a good thing to rely on. It's a good thing because it gives you a little bit of independence. It gives you some capacity to help your kids or to see your doctor, to be independent. And then to hear in Washington that we can't, quote, find the money. So this is not about can we find the money. It's about are we committed to the priority and the well-being of really wonderful people who are struggling. So, you know, our goal now is the fully funding of the ACP, $7 million. And we're going to keep making noise, we're going to find a vehicle, and we're going to find the money. We won't go into the details now, but keeping the noise up really, really matters. And the noise is not just to be loud, it's to embrace the aspirations of those 25 million households in this country who feel connected and don't want to have that connection cut and them left behind, their kids left behind, that veteran's capacity to reach out to another veteran who may share a wartime trauma, that only each other can help console one another. So this really matters to our heart as a country. And whether we're a country where when we have something that we acknowledge is essential, like electricity and like high-speed internet, we back it up with the capacity of people to connect and just don't make them feel miserable that it's right out in front of their home, but they can't connect themselves. So I end where I began, and that is to say thank you. Thank you not just for your advocacy, but thank you for being the heart of America, where we understand we have to do things with public policy to make it personally possible for all of the people among us to have the things that they need to have any shot at thriving, being connected, and having a prosperous, if lower income, wonderful life. Thank you. We're going to do it. We are going to do it.
Thank you, Senator Welch, for making the time. We know how busy things are in Washington. We really appreciate you being here representing your colleagues who are pushing for this. Now, I am going to turn it over to the amazing Elisa Valentin, who's going to lead our lightning panel here and introduce our panelists. Yes, you want this one? I'm good. There we go.
It's like Chris to go through that struggle of getting the mic off. Hi, everyone. Again, I have to go through the struggle of actually. I need to speak Melissa Valentine, Broadband Policy Director at Public Knowledge. Thank you so much for being here. I love that we have a full house at the library at noon. I appreciate it, y'all. Like, we've been trying to scramble to find seats, so this is amazing, an amazing turnout. So thank you all to the panelists for being here today. I know we just heard Commissioner Stark say that, we got to talk policy, but we also have to talk. And so I'm going to begin by speaking with Taylor here, who's joining us. It's a very busy time in your life. He's studying for finals right now. He's in law school at Catholic Law. So thank you for taking the time to join us here today, because we know that you have things that you need to be doing. So I want to chat with you a little bit about the fact that you're an ACP recipient. So I want you to just talk us through your story, how you came to be enrolled in ACP, and what ACP means to you as you.
Well, thank you very much, Elisa, and for Public Knowledge for allowing me to come today to share my experience. This is the first panel I have ever spoken on, so this is a very exciting. So apologies if my brain is full of UCC commercial right now, but anyway, so yes, I am an ACP recipient. I live here in DC. I'm in law school. I live in this neighborhood. This is my library that I go to all the time. So this is a really, really great event that we're having. ACP has been so helpful while I have been in law school and unable to work full time. I'm able to work part time, but I'll be very honest that I had a very sudden change of circumstances while I've been in law school, and there were things that I simply just couldn't plan for. So I'm an example of a person who has made seemingly all the right decisions. I'm in pursuit of my education. I'm starting my career, but I know that I need a little financial help right now. And ACP has been that for me while being in law school, especially this summer when I'm studying for the bar and I'm applying for the bar. All of that is online now, and I'm in the process of applying to jobs, and fingers crossed we'll get interviews. Those are all done online now on Zoom. And so my blank period, I need an internet connection. That bill has to be paid no matter what means possible. And thankfully with ACP, I've been able to pay my internet bill without having to worry about paying for tuition, books, professional clothing, anything else that I need to buy while I'm in law school. And that $30 a month or $360 a year is a lot to a student. It's been a lot to me. And also, my ACP credit will absolutely be disruptive in my life. Thankfully, I'm only financially responsible for myself, and I'm from South Louisiana, so I can whip up a pretty mean red beans and rice recipe for very cheap and be fine. But I can't help but think about parents or individuals who are financially responsible for much more than themselves, and they deserve to be connected to the internet just as much as we. And they might also be in pursuit of education or applying for jobs, but they have a greater need to feed their families. I get that. So losing ACP will really impact every person, every ACP recipient. And
thank you so much, Taylor. So now we're going to turn it over to you, Amina. Amina has the tech policy work taking place at Common Sense. So Amina has been collecting various stories in schools. So just want to hear some of the things that you're hearing lately from our youngest learners, especially because we know that we're on the heels of summer vacation. So what are you all hearing at Common Sense?
Thanks for having me here today. So at Common Sense, we've been tracking how kids and families, students use technology. And one thing that we know is that there are, according to our research, about 16 million students with a persistent digital divide. So it's incredibly helpful to have a program like ACP that helps them connect and stay connected, because these kids need to have access to the internet throughout their entire school career. And what we're hearing from families is that the ACP has connected them so that their kids can't do schoolwork. But not just parents. Kids are often encircled by a whole world of loving caregivers, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. And when you are a low-income family, you are often reliant on this circle of community around you. What's special about the ACP is that it ensures that that full circle goes around the student, so that when they go to their auntie's house after school, because that's the child care, the free child care that their family can afford, they have ACP. They can do their homework. They can stay connected. And they go to their grandparents' house. And this was one of the first stories that we heard when we started doing ACP outreach work in Arizona. It was a grandmother who was so excited to be able to connect to the internet because she wanted to have internet at home for her grandchildren so that they could do their schoolwork. So ACP ensures not only are the students connected, but they're connected where they need to be, where they can be safe and do their work safely. And that's fair. That's equity in education, because for well-resourced students, these are concerns for their parents. Their parents know at home they're connected, no problem. Their parents know that they've got service that can follow them around because they can afford that extra service and that extra cost. But when you are not in a well-resourced household, when you're in a low-income household and you've got students who are constantly thinking about, where can my kid finish their homework? And right now, we're about to head into May, we've got kids who, and I'm going to do a little bit of good news here, that have been digging out of pandemic, like learning debt, right? Learning loss. We've heard all the stories. Well, there's a bit of good news. Back in February, there was research that showed that students were making gains in reading. They're still behind in math, but they were making gains in reading. Kids are working hard to catch up. ACP has been there to help them do that. And now we're in May and we're about to lose this just as they're finishing up their end of year projects, just as they're preparing for their end of year exams, just as they're gearing up for summer session. What are they going to do without internet access? Do their families have to make a choice between medicine or food or work? That's just not fair.
Thank you, Amina, for laying that out for us. So next we're going to go to Kevin, who is coming to us from the DC government. Oftentimes we have these conversations in the Beltway. Bring Kevin to the conversation. So Kevin, can you talk to us a little bit about what you all are doing in the district, especially because about 1 in 5 households in DC is enrolled in ACP. So what are you all doing right now to make sure that people are informed about the fact that the program is ending? And just what are you hearing from the families in DC about what kind of sacrifice that they're going to be making?
So I represent the office of the Chief Technology Officer here in DC, and that office encompasses the state broadband and digital equity office. But under our powers or our outreach, we have a series of programs that we do for the community, such as digital literacy training and various other programs that are beneficial to DC residents. As it pertains to the ACP program, our office is very pleased with the results that we have had. We have achieved 56% adoption under the ACP program here within the district. And that is an incredible number. That's actually 16% higher than the national average. So what that is telling you is that there is a real and palpable need here within the district, but it also shows that we can't afford to let ACP go away. And so what my office has been doing, taking it from the business side, we have been proactively reaching out to the ISPs and talking with them and saying, hey, the program is potentially coming to an end. what are some of the things that you have in place to assist our residents with regards to if that were to happen? And we've been getting, different responses. Many of them have said that they are making provisions for if that happens with, transitioning ACP customers over to Lifeline, for example. The issue with that is that the eligibility qualifications don't always necessarily 100% line up when it comes to Lifeline versus ACP. So there are some people that may be caught in that transition. And then the other thing is that some providers are not eligible to provide Lifeline, such as a lot of the wireless providers, for example. So what we've been doing is just trying to take a proactive approach to saying, if D-Day were to come, what do we have in place to capture all of these people that have signed up under the program that we want to transition? So as I said, that's an ongoing project that we're still doing, or conversations that we're still having. But I'm really urging Congress to keep this program going, because it's necessary. Because so many families rely on this to connect them to the world and to have opportunities that they wouldn't have any other way. And so I think that there is a huge responsibility on our part, not just as leaders, but as Americans, to do the right thing. So I'm asking Congress to please do the right thing and keep this program going, because it will be tremendously beneficial to our citizens.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So William, a similar question for you. William is joining us from the city of Baltimore, where he is on the digital equity team there. We're so glad that you could come down and join us in DC today. I want to tell you a couple weeks ago as well at another conference. So I just want to hear more about what you're hearing in Baltimore. I know that you're engaged with the community on a daily basis. What are you hearing from your community members about what an affordable, reliable broadband connection means to them?
Well, first, thank you all for having this rally, and I apologize because my colleagues here at the panel have been very professional and things like that, but I came to a rally. What we're doing in Baltimore is that as William said it best, 2024 is the year of the truth. We are calling the truth about what's going on in real life. The reality is that, I'll give you one story. There was a young lady, an older adult, correct me, an older adult who came to an event that we were having, ACP registration event with the Housing Authority of Baltimore. She got there. She had recently had a stroke within the last year. She had a private nurse, a nurse that came with her, stayed with her overnight and things like that. She now has a heart monitor to monitor blood pressure. She was diabetic, but she can't keep up with that now, so she has a diabetic monitor. If she goes to sleep and she doesn't have broadband and her blood sugar goes down, she will die. That's not hyperbole. That's not an exaggeration. This is the life she lives, day to day, in and out. And ACP literally makes the difference in her ability to get all of the new meds she needs. So don't get it twisted. She has new meds all over the place, but she also needs this connectivity as much as the meds. That is what this is about. This isn't about my health monitor, so I'll lose a couple of pounds here or there. No, this is about staying alive. Our mayor Scott said that renewal of the ACP is an issue of social justice. Hard stop. That's what this is. And actually, we're talking about $7 billion getting raised. We need $15 billion. This needs to be something that everybody has. I don't need to be in a position where I'm struggling and I'm sitting in. I'll tell you about myself. I grew up in DC up until I was 14. Then I was kidnapped. I escaped and went to Baltimore. That's a separate issue. I was in DC so long ago. I was born at Freeman's Hospital. Okay. As we develop through these, I didn't grow up poor, just grow up poor. I've been poor my adult life. I literally had to sit in my house in the dark because I was ashamed to tell anybody I needed something. I did that. I can imagine what it's like to sit there with your children in a house and have to sit in the dark. Not because you're ashamed, because there's no other alternative. That is what the ACP means. We are literally talking about as part of an overall health package. Like, and let's talk about the money, because that's we believe in capitalism and competition, and we're talking about literally people staying alive. That's it. It's cool to talk about the health monitors. It's cool to talk about my grandson being able to play Roblox. Okay, all right, Roblox. All I know is that he uses up 5 gigs of data a month. That's all I know. But that's not what this is about. That's not what we're here. We're here about, let's be honest, we're here about worthiness. That's what this is. Who is worthy to have access to the internet and who is not? Who has the privilege of being able to just jump on their phone whenever they want to? That is what this conversation is. And if the vote is to not provide or to continue this, let's just be honest that we determine that those people are not worthy. That's all we're talking about. The rest of it is just very pretty language. Are we going to keep people alive, or are we okay with them dying because they're not us?
And you remind us of what the late Congressman John Lewis said, that access to the internet is a civil rights issue of our time. So let's talk a little bit about what our options are. Anita, I'm going to go to you. Can you kind of tell us, where things stand right now? We've heard a few of our policymakers, talk about where things stand with ACP. But what are you all advocating for as Common Sense and even other people in the public interest community? What options exist for us to get this program funded in the short term?
There are options on the table. So that's the good news. Congress still has time. Congress can act. There is the ACP Extension Act, which has broad bipartisan support. Just a week ago, there were Republicans that banded together to send a letter to leadership, to Speaker Johnson, urging him to move forward with the ACP Extension Act. On the Senate side, same bill has been introduced by Senator Welch and Senator Vance. That's also advancing. There's also an opportunity for ACP to be funded as part of a spectrum proposal. Sounds really in the weeds and funky, but I think what's important to note is that means there's money for ACP extension and that there's an opportunity to move that right now. So there are a lot of vehicles, as they say in Congress. There are a lot of opportunities for ACP to move. What should people do here in this room and online? Talk to your member of Congress. Tell your senators, tell your representatives right now, today, that we've got to move for an ACP extension. We need to fund the ACP. We have to tell them this week. It's absolutely critical. There are milestones that are coming up over the next few days in Congress to review the spectrum proposal, to move that forward. There are milestones in Congress related to other legislation that are coming up over the next few days. It's really critical that every member of Congress here right now, that you all care about the ACP and that we must continue on the ACP.
Thank you, Anita. Kevin, I'm going to come back to you here, and I want you to talk us through kind of like the intersection of ACP, of BEAD funding, and Digital Equity Act. You're leading up this work in DC as it relates to BEAD funding, Digital Equity Act. So how will the loss of funding for ACP impact BEAD funding and Digital Equity Act funding here in DC?
Oh, without a doubt, it would impact us in a negative way, to be honest. We have seen that for folks who utilize the ACP program, that $30 price point is the sweet spot. That is really what is necessary to keep folks on the internet. If that price goes above that, we're going to run into problems where they won't be able to afford it. All of the surveys that we've done, the research that we've done, it comes down to affordability. The $30 is what or below or free is what will keep customers, subscribers, residents, Americans connected. And that's what we need. So when it comes to the BEAD and DE grants, affordability is a huge component of that. And so to remove ACP, remove the affordability component away from BEAD and DE would be problematic. So I don't want to see that because I know that that would affect adoption. And adoption is what we need to make sure that all Americans are connected. So just placing the infrastructure there is great, which is what the BEAD program will do. But once the infrastructure is there, then we need to connect the people to the infrastructure, and we will do that through ACP.
All right, William, I also want to talk about the role of digital navigators as well. You know, we talk about kind of like the loss of, you know, trust when it comes to, you know, the government programs, but also there's a lot of people that have been working to sign people up for these programs across the country. So how does the loss of funding for ACP impact the relationship that digital navigators have with those recipients?
One of the things that happens often, especially in communities that have been disinvested over time, is that they get used to being disinvested over time. And so one of the biggest challenges that we have going into community is, like, you all said this before. The guy who had your job beforehand, he said that before. The guy who used to work over there, the lady who brought this in another department, may not have been broadband, maybe it was electricity, maybe it was light bulb. They all said the same thing. And as soon as the funding was over, as soon as somebody, no, not even about, one of our older adults told me, I said, oh, yeah, we're really trying to do this and help you guys out with these types of services. She said, honey, how long you work here? I said, okay, I've been here about 6 months, you know, I'm new. She said, okay, when you've been here for 3 years, come back and talk to me, and then I'll believe you. I couldn't say anything, except I made an appointment with her for 2.5 years with them. Yeah. Because that's what she set the model. She set the standard for what it will take for me to trust you. But I don't get to determine for her what the trust metric is. That's where the digital navigators, especially the ones that we've been using in Baltimore, come in. They are staff and residents at the Housing Authority of Baltimore City. They are residents who have demonstrated commitments and demonstrated ability in getting into communities and having community members follow them and move them. When we're doing our digital equity fund, which is the way we took some of our ARPA money and how we put it back into the community, one of the things we did very deliberately is that we transformed the requirements for application to be more reflective of the actual people doing work on the ground. Let's be very clear. Most of the people in our communities, in the communities we're talking about, the ones that are the covered population, not everybody else, but the ones in the covered population, the programs in those communities normally started because somebody said, well, you don't know how to do that? Well, I'll show you. And then all of a sudden, it didn't start with, you know what would be real cool? If I just fill out 990s every year, I dream of fund development all the time. No, that did not happen for them. And so, and I beat up on Hopkins all the time, what ends up happening is that the Little Flowers Daycare Center cannot compete with Johns Hopkins. They literally have people who are paid lots of money, I'm not gonna quote anybody's salary, but lots of money to write these grants. So we said, no, we're gonna redo this because these are the important people. Who knows how long my job is gonna be there, but they are going to be there long after I'm gone. And that is how we work with the digital navigators, because it is the trust in because they shouldn't trust the city. They just shouldn't. It is that our rules are vastly different. Our rules, and I was talking to Chris about this earlier, procurement rules are specifically designed to reduce and eliminate as much corruption as possible. But what it also does, the digital ecosystem, it makes things very, very difficult. So for example, we're talking, one of my concerns is that if the ACP stops, I know what it takes on the government side to get something started again. You talk about, oh, it'll be over May. Let's say they reauthorize it in June. How long is it going to take NTIA to get all of it? Because what happens to the people who are working there first? Do we just have them sitting there until if ACP comes back? No, we reprogram them. So now when ACP comes back, the money there, procurement has to get re-involved again. Finance has to get re-involved again. The lawyers have to show it. I'm one too, so that's all the reason I'm talking about it. But all of this stuff has to happen. Why would you trust us? We have to do that. That is not the expectation that our community members have. They are given misinformation primarily through sales. Like, I know when a new phone comes out and it's 6G, I'm gonna need it, but I literally have no idea how many Gs I actually need in my life to effectively do what I need to do. It is really about going into the community in a way that is not just relevant, but is connected. One of our, and I'll end on this, one of our community members, Timothy Smith, he said, the solution to closing the digital divide is human. Once we put humanity back in this process, we'll be much closer to doing it.
Thank you so much, William. Taylor, we're going to let you have the last word here. What is your ask of Congress?
Ooh, that is a loaded question, especially incredible. But I'll give it a shot. This program absolutely helps everyone. I live here in DC now, but I'm from rural South Louisiana, and in my home district, 30% of homes are ACP enrollees. So this program is important for everyone across the country, no matter your station in life, no matter who your elected official is, no matter what political party you vote for. But I think that everyone in this room already knows that. So specifically of Congress, I would ask every member to ask their staffers and their interns who are ACP recipients, because living in DC and having friends who are staffers and interns, I know exactly how many people are ACP recipients. And from a personal viewpoint, if Congress and policymakers respectfully can't work together for a program as positive as this one, that's very disheartening for me. As someone who is actively studying laws and policies of this country, I believe in the positive change that policies can have. That's why I went to law school in the first place. But those policies can only have a positive change if the government is willing to help them. So I leave off with urging policymakers and Congress to use whatever vehicle necessary to refund ACP. I'm available. There's a lot more to my story that I didn't share today. I'm available to meet with anyone in this room to share that story. And more importantly, anyone who's not in this room who needs to be convinced that ACP is extremely important for everyone in this country. Thank you.
All right, so I think we're going to take probably one question from the audience. I know that's a lot of pressure, so we're over time. And I would make it good. Let the question be an actual question and not a dissertation before said question. Okay, so who in here has a question? Let's keep in mind kind of the perspectives we have here. We have someone from the DC government. We have an ACP recipient. We have someone who leads tech policy, and then we have someone he can answer any question, our friend over there, whether it be about digital navigators, policy issues, etc. So does anyone have a question in the room that you want to ask our panelists? Or did I see people on that? No questions? So you all feel like we covered it all? We know what our next steps are? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Can you catch the mic, please?
Oh, there's a mic, yeah.
Hey y'all, I'm Rayla Norberson with Common Cause, and I'm a group of folks called the Digital Democracy Activists. These are volunteer activists from all over the country who have been making calls, writing their Congress people, helping their community get enrolled in ACPs. So these folks are seeing today and they're saying, wow, what has all of this work been about if our Congress is not being held accountable to the people? So what do you say to all of those folks who are still calling, writing letters, and looking to get this ACP Act passed? So what words of encouragement or things you have to say to those folks?
William?
Okay. It's an iterative process. That's one of the things that people need to understand, and that's part of the challenge. Government moves at a very, very slow pace by design, and our needs are moving exponentially. And that inconsistency is what drives it. My opinion to them, or my advice to them, is keep calling. Actually, after it's over, call. Regardless of what happens, let me tell you what I'm gonna do then, I apologize. I am calling everyone. Some of my letters are very polite and some of them are not. Because again, we need to make the ones that aren't the place I live. I've already voted for you, so I feel I'm owed. But that is it. You don't stop, because at the point that they find out that they can placate you, that will be all you need. Because if they do decide to go with $7 billion, I'm going to say thank you and say, where's the other $7.5? Where's the other? We need more money, because it is the elected officials' lives are too complicated, and there are too many things for us to let up at all.
And I think once those real stories of real people get out, it makes it hard for leaders to turn away, because we're talking about real people, real lives, not just covered populations, but all Americans who, for whatever reason may not be able to afford the cost of bandwidth, connectivity. And so it makes a difference. And can you imagine, anyone here in this room, can you imagine what your life would be like if you had no internet connectivity? If you thought about it, it would be really difficult, not just to do your jobs, but just waking up in the morning, connecting to your family, connecting to your friends, not being able to do that. That's what this is going to mean for a lot of people if ACP goes away. So once you put it in that human perspective, then we all can connect to that and identify with that and make a difference. So keep calling, keep writing, and keep the effort up.
All right, round of applause for our panelists. Thank you all so much. I'm going to bring Chris Lewis up here for some closing remarks.
Thank you again, panelists. Listen here, it's phenomenal. We're going to wrap things up here. I just want to, as we close, thank, first of all, our partners, National Digital Inclusion Alliance, National Hispanic Media Coalition, Digital Progress Institute, Civic Nation, and our media partners, Broadband Breakfast, for helping us put this on. And thank all of you who are watching, all of you who are here, all of you who understand the urgency that we hear, all of you from folks who are experienced and understand why this program is important. These are people's lives at risk, and they're in danger of being harmed if this program goes under. And what did Commissioner Starks tell us that means? I can't hear you. What did he say that means? That ain't right, y'all. So we want you to talk to your members of Congress. Go to don'tdisconnectus.org. Check out all of our partners' websites as well. All of these opportunities to contact your member of Congress, and as we heard, keep calling. Keep calling until this program gets restored. Thank you all for being here. Ella's going to come up and give you a few more. You got a few more instructions, Ella? Yeah. All right, Lauren's going to come up here and close us out. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Chris. All right. Thank you all so much for coming. If you've taken any pictures, please post them with the hashtag SaveACP. Please get a QR card on your way out. Sorry. It links to my blog post published last week and illustrates the ways that the Affordable Connectivity Program connects to other parts of the bipartisan infrastructure law, including BEAD and digital equity, including BEAD and the Digital Equity Act funding, as well as the FCC's digital discrimination rules. If you would like to submit any follow-up interviews, please connect with Public Knowledge's Stella. Finally, we only have the room for a little while longer, and we will need to clean up. So please be mindful of how much time you spend connecting with old friends and making new ones. Thank you all again so much.
I've muted everything.